Hi, and welcome to this video. I've just woken up on a beautiful winter's morning. It's around 0.4 degrees. Last night on arrival it was lashing down in rain, and this video is about my first night in the all-new NORTENT VARDE 2 and top tips to make your winter camping enjoyable and survivable. It's about ideas I've accumulated over years of experience to help reduce the risk of you getting in trouble on a winter camp and to avoid bailing. So please enjoy all of the video. It's full of top tips, and feel free to comment below what your top tips are, because this is by no means a comprehensive list. Above all, don't even think about winter camping until you've built up considerable experience of backpacking in all three other seasons, where winter can still come and make a visit. So thanks for watching and enjoy the video. It's quite a relief to be moving when you're in the car thinking it's just wet and horrible out there. It's a joy to feel the weight of the pack on your back, in this case 19 kilos, and the warmth of your body. But I'm keen to get high, up another 500 or 600 meters and out of the rain and into the snow line. Okay, I've made a decision about the conditions. It's getting late, the temperatures are dropping. It's forecast at this level to be about 35-mile-an-hour winds from the north and sleet slash snow. Up high on the summit that you can't see up there, it's going to be over 40-mile-an-hour winds, driving blizzard. So I've made the decision to get a little bit higher into the cloud level, where a little bit lower but a little bit safer. Not feeling like 100%, had a cold this week, so I think that's the best decision with the all-new NORTENT VARDE 2. Okay, this feels like the right decision to camp here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's blowing 30 miles an hour here, and with wind chill it's -6. So another 400 meters higher up there, and it's going to be survival time. I hope you can hear me okay. So I'm going to pitch down here. I've been here before, it's a nice spot. It'll still be in the wind, but I'll have a little bit of shelter. So I've changed my gloves to a kind of high dexterity waterproof pair. I know they're going to get soaked in tent pitching, but I'm going to try and keep that as brief as possible. Bought these snow stakes, NORTENT ones, but I don't think I'm going to need them. I've also got some new tent pegs to try out tonight. These are my trusty Eastern 9 inches, but these are 8-inch carbon fibre ones, 3 FUL ones. Probably, half the weight of these. Not super tough, just reinforced at the end and at the top, but super light. So nice as supplementary pegs. So James from Camperlist sent me these, so thanks very much, James. They're exactly the sort of night that I need them. Okay, we've got to this point now, and this is exactly what makes these VARDE series relatively stress-free to pitch in these sort of conditions, because there's low risk of you damaging the tent as it goes up, because all tents have their vulnerable points. No tunnel tents just as you're erecting them when they're unsupported, but with this you can support it as it goes up. Right, I'm going to crack on because I can see there's a puddle forming in the middle there, and I don't like that. Okay, we have a nice pitch. Sitting steady here, about 20-25 mile an hour winds blowing through here if you can hear me. The rain's improved a little bit. Not the prettiest pitch I've ever done, but certainly looks pretty symmetrical. Quite happy with that. So I did decide to utilise the snow stakes. They work beautifully in this soft ground, and the loops are just the right size to go around the snow stakes. It's just like you thought. They were made by the same company just for that job. Oh, tripped on a rock. So I've got them here on the windward side, so they're super solid there. I'll just smarten this side up a bit. That's better. Nice, right. I think I deserve getting inside. Ooh. Straight away I think it's going to be nice having these double doors and all this space, because I can kind of have this as a wet side and the other side as a dry side. So start to get some of these gloves on this drying line. Try and rehydrate a bit. Heavy to carry up, but it's nice to have a two-man tent, isn't it, in the winter? A bit more space. So that can be my kind of dry and kind of cooking side over there. A few secret weapons I wanted to show you tonight to help cope with cold, wet conditions. So the first thing I wanted to show you are these Swedish cloths. They're like a really absorbent cloth, so when I've got in, and even though I've been careful, I've got quite a few drips here, and these things are super absorbent. I mean, the bottom of the tripod is soaked there, so we'll get all that wiped out. And I've actually got a massive puddle in the corner here. I think that was when I was pitching it, kind of taking my time. That puddle that formed on the top must have ran through kind of like a door or something that I had not fully closed. So I can use this cloth. The tent is definitely waterproof, but that's getting mopped up there quite nicely. Yeah, so I think it was just that puddle kind of went through an open door as I was pitching it. No worries, just wipe that up. Just wring it out. Brilliant. There's a link below in my kind of like accessories bit where you can get these. Right, I've got you mic'd up now, hope that's a bit better. Now the next part in the battle to stay warm is to get your wet gear off. Now that Paramo stuff has been fine, but it needs to go in a separate bag. I've put some dry Brinier thermo mesh longs on, and I'm putting some insulated Montane trousers on. And these have got a bit of a DWR coating on them. Some Montane booties. So I've stayed relatively dry on the inside, so what I've got under here is a Brinier thermo mesh, and that's been wicking away as I've walked up, getting warm but wicking out through the Paramo clothing. That's worked really well. So I put some dry bottoms on. I've got a Brinier merino woolen top on, and then I've put over the top of that a kind of Hagloss thermo mesh. And then, since I am still a little bit nippy, a really good weapon here is this Fjern Eldfjall jacket. Now, I'm doing a bit of a separate review on this, but what this is a down jacket with a waterproof outer on it. So brilliant for these sort of conditions. So if I needed to kind of pop outside for a guy line check or anything, I haven't got put like horrible wet soaking wet shell on. I can just pop this over the top of me. Shell will get wet on the outside, but the down will remain dry. When I come back in, I can just kind of wipe that down, and my insulation is protected. So great backup in these kind of like filthy wet British conditions. So the next thing, the battle to stay warm, is I'm putting this Highlander foil mat down big shout out for Highlander, because if anybody saw my video on the homeless shelter, I spoke to Highlander, and they've given to Shelter Suit UK, with no request for publicity of any kind, 40 of these mats and their compact roll mats. So 40 of them. So they'll combine together, one of these on the top and a compact roll mat as well. That'll be much warmer than the existing thing that they had. So thanks very much, Highlander. So I'll put a link to where you can get these below. I paid for this myself years ago. It's been brilliant. So getting off the ground there, that's instantly a bit warmer, a bit nicer. I'm starting to feel kind of comfortable now, like the battle is partly won. Big news, Tent Fish has got a new home. This rather lovely DCF bag, I think the first bit of DCF kit I've ever owned, was sent to me by Wang from Pre-Tents and TFS Tents, so thank you very much for that. And in place of honour is... Oh, do you like your new home, do you, Tent Fish? Come on, out you come. This is the Varde too, come on. Oh, straight up there into that top pocket. You can see what's going on up there, nice and cosy. Keep an eye on things. I have to say I really like this. So the next part in this kind of winter wet survival and comfort thing is keeping everything isolated. So my NORTENT Ling sleeping bag is in its waterproof stuff sack, and you know I've kept all the wet gear out here, and anything that's wet that's come in here, it's been kind of like dried and put isolated out there. I've got myself warm and insulated off the ground, and the next part is the next part of my overbag series. This is going to be a separate review on 2 types of overbags from Decathlon. But let me show you what I'm talking about. We're on this cold, damp winter camp. I've got my lovely NORTENT Ling -5 bag here. But the last thing I want is this getting damp, even though it's got treated down and DWR outer on it. I still want to keep it protected. I'm going to pop out this. Now this is the Simond extra large MT500 +10 synthetic bag. Really compact little thing. And in the over bag video on this, I'm also going to show you the +5 one as well, which is a slightly kind of like thicker one. So this is a thin synthetic bag that's the extra large one because it's going to be compatible with this large down bag. It's spread out. That's got a double zip on it as well that corresponds with the pockets on the big Ling bag. Get that all pushed down inside. Get that zipped up. So now I've got a double bag system, and my NORTENT bag is protected inside, so any drips, damp, soaking things, spillages, that's protected. And it really is a super cozy sleep system, ideal for winter camping. Now it's only going to get to around freezing tonight, and the -5 bag will cope with that on its own, but this adds that extra layer of comfort, really stops any draft. So, you know, if you are interested, watch the full video on this, and there's going to be, there is already a whole playlist and series on overbags and sleeping bags, so have a look at that. And I know for a fact a lot of you are interested in this, because I think the first overbag one I did, it's had about 25,000 views now, so definitely of interest. A lot of military types are commenting on it and the military sleep systems they've used, and those people know quite a bit about sleeping in cold, damp conditions. Right, I deserve a rest. Right, the next thing I wanted to talk about is gloves. Really, really important. Now, I've bought mine up in the top brain pocket of my rucksack in this waterproof Lomo TPU bag, and in there I've got my car keys and a spare Brinny Snud hat thing. Really nice bit of kit. Now the gloves I walked up in were these Rab vaporized gloves that are kind of like windproof and lightly waterproof, and these are still dry, very slightly damp, but I'd use these for kind of like high dexterity, cold, kind of like short periods. And then in the driving rain, when I didn't need as much dexterity, I had these Black Diamond waterproof over mitts on. These are still damp, but these gloves are dry inside, so at any time I could put these back on and my hands would stay warm. Now they're not the warmest glove, but for high dexterity, quite tough, it's kind of like what you need. So I decided to kind of like keep this system mostly dry, and then when I got to camp and I started to pitch, I put these Montane waterproof Pertex gloves on. Now these again are relatively dry on the outside, but by the time I'd pitched the tent they were starting to get a little bit damp on the inside, and now I'm kind of like starting to dry those out. And then my next pair are these big Hestras. I think these are the Heli Ski. Now these are my kind of like everything hits the fan, things are really cold, maybe get out of Dodge. But, you know, these are still dry at the moment and kept isolated for if things got really kind of bad and cold, a waterproof glove. Now, your glove system isn't just about, oh, I'm going to bring some gloves that'll keep my hands dry. It's about, to me, how many pairs of gloves you can afford to burn through and when. Because in dry, cold conditions, 1 or 2 pairs of gloves, you'll probably be okay. In cold, very wet conditions like we're facing now, I guarantee you're going to burn through them and you're going to wet them. So how many times a day are you going to need gloves, and what are you going to need them for? What are the tasks, and what are the risks if your hands get cold and wet? And what's your backup? You know, you've always got to have something kind of in reserve. Now I'm fine now. I've only got 1 pair that's kind of properly wet, and the shell's a little bit damp. They're a tiny bit damp, but they're okay. I'll probably just stick those in my pocket now, actually, to dry those off. Yeah, I'm just going to stick them in my pockets here to make sure that the last bit of damp gets off those. So I'd love to know in the comments below what your winter glove system is, but it's vital. If your hands can't function, you're not going to be able to do crucial tasks like make yourself a hot meal or pitch your tent or take your tent down in the storm. So it's important to be able to pitch your tent with gloves on, as I did tonight, and that's a skill that you need to practice as well to make sure you can do it. My wind's definitely strengthening now, but nice and stable in here, nice and cosy. Now the next step to winter comfort is to ventilate. We've got damp gear in here, and it would be relatively easy to think getting a fug going, but by getting some vents open, yes, we let through a bit of a cold draft, but we also help to reduce condensation, and condensation means damp, and damp means cold. So don't be afraid to ventilate and do it early. And the next part, winter management, is to get yourself a good hot meal on the go. Maybe it's a hot drink first, cup of tea, nice and early. Make sure your cook system can cope with the conditions. I've tested this one down in kind of like -8, I think, and now I'm using the Coleman C100 Extreme Gas. This is a Soto Fusion Trek, brilliant system, and I've been testing recently the fire maple ramen pot, I've been told to call it, and I was calling it ramen. What an ignoramus I am, calling it ramen. I've got some nice spicy curry ready to make. I could lie around here, maybe kind of having a beer, something like that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be disciplined, get a hot meal on the go, and it's amazing how much that'll raise your temperature. I've watched numerous videos of people kind of like standing outside going, oh, I'm freezing, I'm cold. And I'm just thinking, get yourself a hot meal made. And if you're not used to camping, it might be kind of like tempting just to bring cold food like a pasty or something like that, but it's going to take a lot of energy heating that up in your body, and that requires calories and heat. So why not just kind of do the right thing and make a nice hot meal? I've got this rather massive Dixon's chicken curry and some Tilda coconut nut rice to throw in, but this brings me nicely into
knife of the camp.
Now this is the rather famous Spyderco UKPK, and that means UK penknife. Now quite some time ago, you can see I've been using this, Spyderco, that makes their knives in Golden, Colorado, I don't know if you can see that, were called upon to make a UK legal version, so a non-locking folder that had a blade length of less than 3 inches, and they came up with this one, and it's become legendary. So this one is made exclusively for Heine Haynes. It's a really nice blood red G10 outer, and you can see the little Heine Haynes logo on there. Now Heine Haynes are a really well-known company, a lot of great stuff on the site, so check them out. They kindly sent me this, and this is totally turned into my everyday carry. I carry it in my pocket every day, useful at work, and my hands are a bit cold now, but that's still kind of easy to undo. Quite a thin blade, but a nice flat grind, which is my preference. Lovely knife. So check out Heine Haynes in the link below. I bought loads of gear from them over the years before they kind of I met them recently, and they've sent me 1 or 2 things, so I appreciate that. These have been long awaited to be back in stock. The Heine Haynes Spyderco UKPK exclusive. Okay, we're going to use it to open this curry and get it in the pan. So I've got this little low windshield from Fjern as well. Thought I'd give it a try. I haven't used it yet. I normally use just like a folding foil one, but this one's pretty light, and it's just the right height for kind of remote gas canister stoves like this one. So yeah, pretty much worth using. A bit safer as well, because you know those foil ones are a bit flappy, aren't they? A bit all kind of like all over the place. So this feels like a really safe system now, famous last words, with the stable wide fusion trek, the pan system, the ramen pan system that's got the guide rails for the heat exchanger. Hope you can see that. And then that sits on there pretty solid. With the Varde 2 here, I've got this door open, and that's venting out of there really nicely. So I've got the downwind door open here. You can see the steam wafting up out of there. That's actually my breath. So I've got 4 ventilation points, haven't I? The door here, and then the doors across there as well, creating a nice through draft. Something I've said before though is I'd like these parts monofill at the top, so you could shut them and still have ventilation, and the little closable flap over the outside. Great tent to be in these conditions though, and for winter, lots of space for one man, luxurious. So the other thing I can do with this windshield, because it's stayed relatively cool, but you know the pan's still warm from cooking, and it'll be a bit warm on my lap, as I can use it as a little like mini tray there and enjoy my curry. So this is lovely and piping hot and spicy. The coconut rice is blended in. I'm sure there's raisins in there as well. Really lovely coconut curry. So Dixon's is very well known in the northeast. Dixon's pies, you get shops and stuff. Do you get it elsewhere in the UK? I know it's pretty popular up here. Right, I'm just going to enjoy this. Get me nice and warm. Right, that was brilliant. So the next part of being safe in winter is having some good communications. Now, I've got my mobile phone with me that's fully charged, and I've messaged my wife to say everything's okay, but as a backup as well, I've got the Garmin InReach Mini. So this is a satellite communicator, of course. I've sent her a message checking in, saying that I'm okay, and that'll ping her a location as well. And I've also messaged a couple of friends to let them know how the camp's going. They wanted to come, but one of them didn't have the time. One of them injured the back. Sorry about that, Paul. But I decided to come anyway. So yeah, have some good communication in place, and I've got a charger for this as well to make sure that I don't run out of power. Now, on the electronics front, I've got two sources of light here on the go. I've got the excellent Phoenix H18R and this Phoenix lantern, and I've also, that I'm not going to use unless I really need to, I've got a backup head torch. This is a diminutive night core. This is the NU27, so it's really small. It's locked at the moment, so it can't come on. So this is a good head torch that would get me off the hill, or that bag also doubles as a lantern. So I've got backup lighting as well. And you will kind of like burn through quite a lot of light, because obviously you're a long time in the tent in winter. So be prepared to kind of like turn stuff down and off, or sit in the dark for a little bit, or alternatively, you know, turn that down to a nice low setting to preserve its power. I can see I'm still on 3 bars there. I don't know if you can see that. So feel free to jump in and comment at any time what your winter survival camping tips are. So that's the next tip. Don't shirk your guy line check, because sil nylon tents will stretch a little bit, and you want to check that your anchors are still intact. These all look good. Is choose anchors that are appropriate for the conditions. So I've got snow pegs with me because I was expecting snow, and some nice long pegs, so you can test your pegs in different conditions, making sure that they work. Now, I recently saw an experienced camper in a Hilleberg tent, and he had a tent failure because of pegs coming out. So carry enough pegs so you can double peg, so if you do have one fail on a vulnerable side, you can double peg. It can happen to anybody, but in my opinion, that tent failure could have been saved by better pegs or double pegging. So the Varde is sitting nicely here. Winds are going about 20, 25. Oh, it's cold. Clear now though. Looks good. Right. Back inside, because it's definitely chilly. Oh, I need to do the washing up. Moderate breeze coming through with 15 there. It's -4 wind chill. So yeah, I don't want to be hanging around. My next winter tip is to have a bag. I'm not going to do it tonight because conditions don't dictate, but a bag that's large enough and nice and waterproof that you can put your boots in. So you can bring them inside the tent at night to stop them from freezing or getting any damper, and or so you could put them in the bottom of your large sleeping bag. Now, one of the most important bits of kit of all is your pee bottle. Can't get these anymore. These are the Hydra Pack wide mouth flask, robust and pack up small. You don't want to go out into driving rain and or snow a couple of times in the night, so have a good pee bottle, best friend. Right, cup of tea and some chocolate pudding. Love these things. Adventure Food Mousse au Chocolat. Really. I suppose the other thing we should say about winter camping tips is it's condition specific, isn't it? So if it was -10 and calm and snowy, the conditions would feel a little bit different. So I'm adjusting my advice here to the conditions I'm in tonight. Windy, cold, around freezing, snow predicted. Other people in other countries will have different ideas. People who camp below the tree line in colder conditions in the States will often use tents that still have a mesh lining, which we in the UK find absolutely incredulous. We would freeze. So I'm getting ready for bed now. I've got the vents open there, well ventilated. Just been enjoying the Varde 2. There's definitely space for 2 in here. One little thing about the design is because of the shape of the poles at the top and how they've got the inner tent attached, it does taper to a kind of like a point at the top. So whilst you've got a good 120 centimetres at the bottom and therefore space for 2 wide mats, if you were sitting up doing your business, you will be kind of like close of shoulder a little bit. You could manage, but it's just an observation. What we have got is absolutely superb length. This is 240 centimetres in here, so there's the end of the mat down there. There's a big gap at the end, so I've decided to bring my boots in. So I've got plenty of space here for one person. I'm going to put these wet gloves at the bottom. Sorry about that. To avoid losing them, the Ling bag series actually has a dedicated pocket at the bottom just for that sort of thing. And there's also one on the inside as well. They're pretty wet, so I'm going to put them there. But there's another pocket on the inside for stuff that's kind of not quite so soggy. I don't know if you've seen this before, but an absolutely awesome feature of these Ling sleeping bags is the armhole and zips. So you can kind of be in there and even get the hood up. You can get all that around there and be inside and do what you like. You could even cook. And this outer bag is kind of compatible with that as well, with having a double zip either side. This Simond MT500, I can zip that up and still operate my armholes, no problem. Get it up quite high as well. Really nice system. I'm pretty pleased with this, to be honest. And the outer bag is big enough as well to enable the inner bag, the posh down bag, to loft. Fantastic. Now, I'm getting ready for bed. Usual winter camping thing. I've pitched, I've had my tea, and I've checked the time. I thought, right, probably time for bed. It's only 6:30. I'm like a toddler. But that's the other tip. Bring some entertainment. I've usually got headphones and 1 or 2 movies and things downloaded on my phone. So I'm going to have a little look at those now. Okay. Very cold. -1 outside. See it in the morning. Hopefully there'll be a bit of snow. You never know. Cheers.
Well, it's 3:30 in the morning. I'm really pleased I decided to camp low because the wind's picked up significantly. The temperature's dropped. Having this door cracked here and here is working well. Got no condensation inside the tent. Minuscule film here, so that's working well. And now we've got some wintry showers coming through. So it's a case of reposition the earplugs, and so the overbag system is working really well. So I'm warm and dry here, tiny bit cold and damp on the outside, and that's the whole idea, is that you have a kind of condensation gradient, so your down inside stays dry and warm, and then as the air cools and condenses and your water vapour condenses, it condenses on the outside. Things like this wet jacket I've got, or damp jacket I've got hanging up, don't dampen your sleeping bag. It's on the outside synthetic one. Something I could have done better is I've sunk down in the night and round my breathing hole pretty damp and wet, so I need to get my face out a little bit better. But the moisture management is doing okay. And the other hot winter camping tip is be organised. So I've got stuff in bags, pretty neat, you know, kind of like on my spare clothes, neat there. So just to be organised and kind of like partly packed. So, you know, the tent's doing great. It's well pegged out. I'm not anticipating any calamities, but if you do, you need to know where everything is and to be kind of organised, ready to deal with the unexpected. Right, back to sleep. Let's have a little look over here. Wow, the Cheviot's got a lovely winter cap on there. But this is why we come here in winter, for the solitude and the beauty that only winter can afford. This is where the height of the Varde comes into its own. I can sit on this 23 centimetres of mat now, and I've still got loads of space above my head. I think this is 125 centimetres in all. The next tip is make sure you get a good warm breakfast. I've just had one of my favourite porridge with raisins and a bit of Nido powdered milk, and now I'm going to make a coffee while I enjoy the warming effect of the sun. Here's to moments like this. So there's a couple of things I'd ask you to check out. One is NORTENT themselves, so thanks very much to them for loaning me this Varde 2 to try out. It's been brilliant. Next would be Highlander. I bought this insulated mad mat myself, highly recommended, so check them out and their bigger shelter blanket, great value range of gear. And also check out Phoenix. Now it's head torch season, and I did a review on the excellent Phoenix HL18 and the lantern I've been using. I've used it a few times and it's a really great bit of kit, and that video hasn't had a lot of love and views, so do me a favour, have a look at it, and I think you'll be really interested to see how the lamp and head torch perform together. Absolutely stellar bits of kit, and definitely the products deserve a bit more love. So yeah, have a look at those and check out the links. Now I'm here to learn from you as well, and I'd like to know from the experienced Paramo users what you think, because I arrived in camp last night with the full-on Paramo salopettes and this smock, what the hell's it called? And I've
placed it in a bag in the night, and then I've had it hanging up in the sun this morning. But my question is, to experienced Paramo users, how do you manage that winter camping with Paramo gear? Because with a shell system, you can take that off and isolate it and just have your insulated clothing underneath. Then you can try and dry it out, like I had this shell kind of hanging up, still a little bit damp. Now this stuff doesn't feel particularly cold to the touch, but I am going to have to put it back on. So have you got any other tricks to help keep it warm? I mean, I thought of putting it in between my layers of sleeping bag, but I chickened out with that one. So your thoughts, some experienced users, kind of what do you do? So I'm going to put this back on now and it'll dry as I walk down. In case you were wondering, my trick of putting these Montane gloves in the bottom of my sleeping bag did work. I would say they're kind of like, wow, 60% dry, a tiny bit damp still, but considerably better than the sodden mess they were when I put them in there. Now, I've got all the stuff that I want to keep dry, kind of like in their respective dry bags, kind of like isolated from the wet. So if I was multi-night camping, I could put these in the rucksack and I wouldn't be worrying about them getting wet. And of course my rucksack itself has a waterproof liner in. So on the whole, I think the fun of winter camping is about overcoming adversity and making yourself comfortable. It's crossing that line, isn't it, between sanitized modern living that doesn't appeal to our kind of deeper instinct, our craving to strive, and discomfort and even danger. I think a good way of summing it up is it's a series of what ifs. So I'm going to be comfortable, this is what I'm going to do, but what if? What if the weather was worse than I expected? What if my tent pole broke in the middle of the night in a storm? What are my contingency plans? You can use the scout motto if you like, be prepared. So be prepared for things going wrong. You know, for instance, just shoved in the side here, I've got a Rab sill poncho that's clipped on there. So if I found myself in a situation where I was kind of like suddenly injured and I was getting cold quickly, I can grab that, pull that over me, wrap the elastic round, and I know that instantly gives me an extra barrier against the elements. Hey, I don't know all the answers, and I'm looking forward to comments from people from Scotland who are used to regular winter camping, the Norwegians, the Swedish, the Canadians. They often comment in my kind of winter camping videos and they've got some great tips. So come on guys, I'm here to learn from you as well. Winter camping tips. If in the very unlikely event that somebody is watching this video in like 30 to 40 years time, that tor there is where my ashes will be. Beautiful spot. You can see out over to the North Sea where I've enjoyed many a happy scuba dive, and beautiful wild Northumberland hills. Good place to spend the rest of my life. In winter, time management is of the essence. You'll find that everything takes that little bit longer, and of course the daylight is remarkably short, so you'll need to set out earlier than you expect because you want to aim to get to camp around an hour before sunset. Now at this time of year that's about 4:30, so if your walk in is 2 hours, you're setting off at lunchtime, aren't you? And everything takes longer. You're working with gloves on, you're using heavier equipment, so allow lots of time. Absolutely brilliant, these guy line retainers. If you haven't invested in any snow stakes yet, check out these ones by NORTENT. They're really big, long and light, exactly what you need, made by people who are used to winter camping. Now you'll see, of course, I used them in completely the wrong way. I just shoved them into the soft ground. The holding power was incredible, but of course if you were using these in full snow, winter conditions, what you would do is put them in, and this slot would be coming up out of the snow nice and deep down, and then you'd clip this part onto your guy line. It's a big tent, the Varde 2, but it squashes down into a manageable lump that'll fit in the top of your pack. The last things I'm going to leave you with is have a bomber weather forecast. Use multiple sources. The Met Office app is really good, and there's hill locations as well for significant summits and all upland areas with predicted wind chill, so that's definitely worth having on your phone. And as regards the comms, I'm going to link you to an older video of mine that's still really relevant, called How to Avoid Calling Mountain Rescue. There's loads of tips in there, like how to set up 999 texting. So definitely check that out. That'll be at the end of this video. And finally, how about a bit of strength training? So something I'm a little bit lacking on. In winter, you're going to be carrying a pack that's probably 30 to 40% heavier than a summer one, and you'll feel it. So I'm a dry weight of around 17 kilos, whereas in summer I'd be aiming to be kind of around 10 kilos. So yeah, a little bit of work on the upper body and back is definitely going to be worthwhile. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. This was the first night in the prototype NORTENT VARDE 2. But the star is the uplands, eh? When I'm not videoing, I keep coming back to this and having those moments of stillness. I apologise that this has been a gear and tips heavy video, but in between that, I'm definitely enjoying the quiet solitude. That's what it's about. All the rest is just a facilitator, isn't it?